Couples Threesomes 8-Pack, Books 17 through 24. FFM Threesome Reverse Cuckold Erotica. Written by Connie Cuckquean. Narrated by Allison Okeefe.
My husband likes them bigger. Couples Threesome 17. Me and my husband Simon had a pretty active sex life. The both of us had decided against children, which meant our professional and social lives could flourish more than most people can afford them to. Simon was the manager of a haulage company, and I ran my own realty business. We liked to keep things exciting. We dressed up for each other, tied each other up, and did all manner of things to make it more interesting. One thing we'd never tried, though, was a threesome. One day, I'd tell him often. It wasn't as though he was begging to get another woman involved, but I knew from our past that it was one of his deepest fantasies. There was something else I couldn't give him either, but Simon would never dream of bringing it up. I knew for a fact he liked women with big tits, and that, unfortunately, was something else I couldn't provide. He told me he loved my body, and I believed him. A guy doesn't get as stiff as that without being turned on, and he was regularly ravenous when it came to giving me head. But whenever I'd caught him ogling another woman, or ventured into a saucy search history of our home computer, it was always big breasts that seemed to be the object of his affection. Recognizing that Simon was into it was easy, but delivering his fantasy had been impossible. For years I'd been open to the idea of a threesome, but it had never truly seemed possible. That was until busty IT whiz Cassandra walked into my life. I'd interviewed her for the job a couple of weeks back, and she was already getting a reputation. Even in the interview, she'd had this devilish smile, and I remember being taken aback that she'd left so many buttons open on her blouse. As we talked, I realized that it was merely her personality shining through. Her resume was damn impressive, so I could ignore her revealing attire and flirtatious nature. For now. I had around 12 members of staff at this point, and it's safe to say that Cassandra was the one I most looked forward to seeing each morning. She would wear these different outfits every day that really stood out among the ties and blazers and women's suits. She always added an extra flourish, even if it was just red lipstick with red shoes. She always did something. As such, I'd started to admire her far beyond her work capabilities. I think it was starting to show by how increasingly flirtatious our daily chats had become. I'd find reasons to approach her, just so I could talk to her. "Which one of these ink cartridges is better?" I asked, and Cassandra jumped to her feet, showing a keen interest. She drifted over in her high heels and tight skirt. Her long, painted nail fingers delicately grabbed each cartridge in turn, scrutinizing the names that were embossed on the plastic in tiny letters. "This one will pump it out at a better rate," she said. "It'll go all day long, if you like that sort of thing." I giggled, feeling my professionalism wane. "I do." "Good to hear," Cassandra said, and I started to blush. I looked around the office to see if anyone had noticed the exchange. Thankfully, they were all far too studious. "If you need anything else," she offered, a sparkle in her eye, "I'll keep you in mind." I turned back from my private office, holding the cartridges and trying to hide my smile. I thought of Simon and felt a slight guilt, as though the conversation alone had been some kind of infidelity. I closed the door and sat at my desk, biting my lip as my brain whirred. I glanced through the glass and saw Cassandra chewing at the end of her pen as she stared at her screen. Her gaze suddenly shifted to me, and I looked away immediately, picking up the phone. I had no idea who I intended to call, but mechanically I found myself ringing my husband. "Gina? Honey?" he answered, rightly concerned. I never rang him at work. "Hey, what are you up to?" "Why? What's wrong? Are you okay?" "I'm just feeling kind of horny," I confessed.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?